Welcome everyone to episode 40. And I am so thrilled to have with us who we like to refer to the mother of intermittent fasting, Jen Stevens. Jen, welcome to the show.
Well, hey, good to see you this morning, and I'm glad to be here.
Good to see you as well. Always great to see you, Jen. To be honest, this interview is very special for me because your first book, Delay, Don't Deny, was the inspiration for me and how I shed over 50 pounds 4 years ago, and how really I'm sitting here right now talking to you. And I have this podcast, and this has become my life. Your latest and greatest book, the 28-day fast start day by day, which is essentially, mine's back there. It's back there.
Awesome.
The essentially, it's like the companion book to
Mhm.
Fast Feast Repeat. Am I correct in saying that?
It is. It is
Okay.
totally a companion book to Fast Feast Repeat. And it came about because I realized some people needed just a little more support when they were starting because Fast Feast Repeat is super comprehensive, which is its
Absolutely.
greatest strength and its greatest weakness. So,
100%. I mean, I call it my Bible.
yeah.
And so I always refer to it, but it is very comprehensive. If you've never read it, please read it. But the Jin's new book,
Mhm.
the companion guide, the 28-day fast start day by day, is absolutely wonderful. And it is more of a hand-holding guide to
Mhm.
starting this lifestyle, or maybe you're jumping back into this lifestyle.
Right.
So pick it up, whether it's audio, it's on Amazon, pick up a copy. So, Jin, you may or may not remember that I had started a Facebook group shortly
Yeah.
after you left the social media world. And to that, I have some questions that I have compiled from a few people, moderators
Okay.
and members alike. But I want to talk a little bit, I want to dive into your new book,
Okay.
because that's at the forefront of my mind. And I know it's at the forefront of your mind and so many other people's mind right now. It is like the top fasting book out there right now. So let's go a little bit into it. Each chapter has an inspirational story by somebody that has followed in your footsteps pretty much with Delay, Don't Deny. So, can you expand on how this book is going to change the landscape of intermittent fasting?
Yep. And I think, like there's a clue in the subtitle there. It's the ultimate guide to starting or restarting your intermittent fasting lifestyle so it sticks. And I didn't realize how much we needed this book for the people that are having trouble making it stick as well. I've been running intermittent fasting support groups since my very first one that I started in 2015 when it was just a way to support me and my friends who were doing this
Right.
crazy thing in 2015 called intermittent fasting. And, they grew and grew and grew. And there are people who start intermittent fasting and they never look back and then they just keep doing it forever and that's just how they live.
Right.
But there are people who tend to cycle back and and in and out, in and out. And so, we'll see they'll be there, they'll be in the community, they'll be excited, then they disappear
Right.
for like 5 months. And then
Okay.
they show back up and they're like, "Well, I quit. I don't know why. I'm back. I'm starting again." And so I realized, there's really got to be a way to help people who they know intermittent fasting is their answer. They know it. Just instinctually, you hear about it, and you're like, this is going to be my answer. Well, like me, when I started in 2019
Yeah.
and then started and stopped all through those years, 2019 to 2014. If I had had this book right here,
I
I would
know.
not have quit. I
Oh
would have
no.
started in 29 or 2009 and never quit. But
Right.
the lessons that you learn along the way, or all my lessons are in here, and plus learning from people who have struggled to make it a lifestyle. And, it's all about mindset, expectations, habits, the practices of intermittent fasting, understanding how it's different than what you've done before, why it's so good for you. Because when you fully understand the health benefits, when you have a really powerful why, which is one of the first things I have people do before they even start day one, they craft their why.
Hmm.
When you really understand that this is a lifestyle and it will change everything for you, you're less likely to quit.
Yeah.
So I put all that together, put on my teacher hat because, I was a school teacher for 28 years.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
I know how to motivate a classroom full of kids. I know how to make kids who hate math learn to love math. And
Yeah.
so, you can get excited about anything. And when people get excited about an intermittent fasting lifestyle and they really understand how it's going to change your life, then you don't want to quit. And having those little stories in there from successful long-term intermittent fasters, I'm really glad I thought to put them in. They are all past intermittent fasting stories guests. I just sent out an email to everybody who'd ever been on the show from the beginning and said, "Hey, I'm writing a new book. Would you give people let them know how you've been doing, a few paragraphs, and also give them their advice if they're starting or starting over." And people just filled out a Google form. And so it was so much fun to look at who replied and what they said, and I wish I could have chosen all of them,
Of
but I can
course.
only pick
Yeah.
28. But I tried to match them up with the daily lessons as well. Like every day of the 28 days, you get a lesson for the day. Like maybe it's a mindset lesson, or maybe it's about the clean fast, or maybe it's about having realistic expectations. And then you have your daily check-in. You read my daily lesson, you read the inspiration story. It even tells you what podcast episode they were on. You get their, advice. And so it's been a really powerful tool for people who are starting or restarting. But what surprised me the most
What?
is the people in the community who never had quit.
Yeah.
They considered themselves to be, intermittent fasters, and they decided just to go through it in the spirit of FOMO. They decided to go through it with us, like when it first came out, like
Oh
fear of missing
my.
out or just
Yeah.
excitement that we were
Sure.
having the new book.
Okay.
But they realized that it helped them as well. So
Yeah.
it turns out it's a great tool for experienced intermittent fasters who may have forgotten their why, or
Mhm.
just had gotten a little complacent, or maybe a little sloppy with their little window creep here and there.
Mhm.
So it is not just for new or restarting intermittent fasters. I can't change the subtitle now, but it's also for people who just need a refresh, if you will.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read it and I really can say it was a wonderful refresher. Even though I talk
Mhm.
about fasting all the time like you and it's just
Right.
in our system, but reading this book and reading everybody's success stories does something for your mindset.
It
And
does.
really like this is what it really being successful in this lifestyle is, I feel, really about mindset.
Yeah.
And so when you read continuously about people's success and and it's very motivating, it's very inspiring. So thank you for putting that book together. I've had so much good feedback in the group about it. So I just want to extend their thank you as well.
Well, thank you for letting me know. I'm real proud of it. I could not have written this book, 5 years ago, but it's
Yeah.
it's because I left Facebook that I've really been able to get up close and personal with my community. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't do that in Facebook. I could at the beginning when there were 32 of us in the group, but then,
Right.
as it got bigger and bigger and people came in, and then we had
Yeah.
500,000 combined members, all I was doing, I like equate it to like, a school teacher. When you're in the classroom with those children, you really get to know those children. And then if you're good at your job, they make you be the principal, right?
Right.
So
Right.
now you're the principal and you're like dealing with mad parents and the school board and problems. And that's how Facebook got for me, because I was
Yeah.
like overall, I was the principal of the Facebook group
I
and
could
I
see
lost
that.
touch with the people. So now I'm getting to do what I love to do. I'm back in the classroom with my community,
Yes.
and I'm realizing what struggles, people are having. Just like a
Yeah.
good teacher can make a plan for how to help that kid struggling in math,
Yeah.
this book was the answer to how to help that intermittent faster that knows they want to do it.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they can't get out of their own way. Maybe they keep falling back to the lure of cream in my coffee just makes me have joy,
Right. Yeah, sure.
or, well, I was on a vacation and then I just never started back. And
Right.
just
I hear that a
understanding
lot.
those struggles, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely for people who are not just starting back in this lifestyle, but there are a lot of people that's like off the wagon, or I don't like to
Yeah.
call it the wagon. I hate the wagon, but re- for lack of better terms, falling off the wagon and then hopping
Right.
back on, falling off.
Yeah.
Get this book. It'll help you stay on that damn wagon.
Yeah,
Okay. Like,
exactly.
get the book. Don't hesitate. All right. So
Right.
I'm going to go now, Jen, with these questions that we've
Okay.
compiled, and
Awesome.
I'm going to do my best to stumble through them. So I have a moderator and his
Okay.
name's David. And David wants to know, and it's not just David, there's a lot of people, including myself, would like to know how you feel and what your thoughts are on the newest weight loss drug craze that is sweeping the nation. Ozempics, all the semiglutides out there. And, specifically, the latest thing I saw was Kelly Clarkson, not to call out a celebrity, but to call out a celebrity. Sorry, Kelly. I love her. But she was joking about it on one of her concerts. Um, and I don't know. Like, so how do you feel about it, Jen? What are your thoughts and feelings on it?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Old Jen, prior to intermittent fasting, the one that was 210 pounds, had tried everything and was desperate to lose weight and nothing ever stuck, I
Hmm.
would have been all over that. Okay. I would
Absolutely.
have gotten the prescription, stomach paralysis, whatever. I would have literally done anything
Of
to
course.
find success. And I felt so hopeless that I would ever find anything as I was yo-yoing up and down and, became obese. So I totally understand why people who have struggled so long and not found success would be very attracted to this, because I would be one of those people. So
Right.
I thank the Lord that I solved my problem prior to this being available. I dabbled in the drugs that we had back then. Phentermine was the one that I
Oh
used to
my
make me feel
goodness.
terrible. I
Yeah.
lost the weight. Here's the thing though. I felt crazy and terrible while I was taking those diet pills, but they made me thinner because it took away my appetite. It was an appetite suppressant. And so I was able to eat less without effort because of the diet pills, and I
Mm.
lost a lot of weight. Soon as I stopped taking them, I gained 50 pounds in 18 months, and that was when my
Whoa.
struggle really began, and I got heavier and heavier and heavier until I got to 210. But my point is, these new weight loss injections are doing the same thing, different mechanism
Sure.
for appetite suppression, but they're just making you do a really low calorie diet all the time. You're just doing a very, very low calorie diet
Right.
with the same consequences. It does not take away the consequences of a very, very low calorie diet. So we think back to what we know about the Biggest Loser study. Those
Hmm.
people that successfully lost a lot of weight, the ones who were able to maintain, had to continue to eat way less food than they would have,
Hmm.
because their
Hmm.
metabolisms had slowed down.
Right.
Also, we know these new weight loss injections tend to lead to a lot of muscle loss because,
Mm.
just like with a traditional low
Mhm.
calorie diet, you're burning a lot of muscle with that. So, not even to mention the side effects. What if you're one of
Yeah.
those people who ends up with permanent stomach paralysis? That is a thing.
Oh,
People have permanent stomach paralysis for the rest of their lives. I mean, that is a very scary side effect. A lot of the side effects are scary. So, I understand both sides of it. I understand being desperate
sure.
for an answer that just your friend's making it look so easy. Well, you don't know how nauseous your friend might feel. She's not telling you that part of it.
Yeah.
And even the studies that the companies have done, their own studies show that when people stop taking them, the weight comes back. So
Yeah.
it's not a I'm just going to take it till I get to my goal weight and then I'll just able to maintain. No, this is a yo-yo drug. They want you to take it forever.
Of course.
So,
They want you
intermittent
on it.
fasting is free. I've never known anyone to have stomach paralysis from intermittent fasting, and the side effects are things like no more skin tags and
Right.
your A1C is normal and
It's all these beautiful side effects,
right,
not
good ones.
horrid
Yeah.
ones like forever poopies, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just not so thank you for that. I appreciate your view on both sides because like you, I was on that diet roller coaster too. And I
Mhm.
didn't go as far as trying prescriptions, but because I was a little younger,
Yeah.
I'd taken every diet pill that was over the counter.
Yeah.
It made me feel crazy. It did crazy things to my stomach. And you're right. All it did was restrict my calorie intake and make me feel deprived and screw up my
Yep.
metabolism. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. And it's just such an important topic right now. So from my Comet admin, Lisa, you may know Lisa just Soonest. I always say her last name wrong. Lisa wants to know what your insight on women over 40 fasting as we age and all of the hormonal changes that come with that. Is there anything you wish you knew sooner?
No. Well, I guess I wish I knew that we don't have to worry about it. I mean, I never did worry about it because it just felt so right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you listen to the Fast Feast Repeat podcast that I do with Sherry Bullock.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can remember what episode it was. I'm going back, the one where we had Tabitha Barber on there. And I'm
Making
looking,
a
I
note.
don't remember. Anyway, there was one episode. I'm flipping back through my notes here. I can't. Oh, here it is. It was episode 28 of the Fast Feast Repeat podcast. We had Dr. Tabitha Barber. She's an OBGYN and she's a functional medicine doctor and she's a hormone expert. So, I can tell you all day long intermittent fasting is not going to mess up your hormones, but it means a lot more when it comes from an OBGYN. The
Yeah.
fasting method podcast, which is Megan Ramos, Jason Fung's group, they also had a different OBGYN on who said the same thing. Fasting is not going to hurt your hormone. The act of fasting will not. Now, here's what is bad for women's hormones: over restriction in general, over dieting, and extreme exercise. Tabitha talked about the example of Olympic athletes. Women who are Olympic athletes who are training so hard often lose their periods.
Right.
That is not good for you.
No.
She called your period your fourth vital sign, I think. And so if you are still in your reproductive years, you need to have a regular period.
Mhm.
And that's the sign that your hormones are cycling properly. And so if you're in your reproductive years and you're continuing to cycle properly, you can be assured that your hormones are working just like they're supposed to. Now, there's a very normal part of the aging process: perimenopause, menopause. This happens to you whether you are fasting or not. In
Yes, it
your
does.
40s, your ovaries are doing something different. They're not putting out as much as many hormones as they did before. So we have, the cycles of perimenopause. That is completely normal for all women, whether you are doing intermittent fasting or not. And as you're continue to age like me, if you're past the age of menopause, there are zero hormonal concerns you should have when it comes to intermittent fasting, because we're not trying to reproduce. That's when bioidentical hormone replacement therapy becomes so important.
Yeah.
And that'll keep your body youthful as you continue to have those
Absolutely.
hormones. So,
Okay, so the the old theory or thought that's been circulating that, if you are a woman over 40, you should stop
why?
fasting
Why
the
are you
week
doing
before
that?
your period or stop fasting when you're ovulating. I mean, listen, I've been fasting over 4 years and I had a period that entire time. I never stopped because if I stopped, I'd get on this stopping and
Right.
starting
I
train.
just don't understand the rationale. Okay, you're over 40. What is the reason why? I just don't even get it. It makes no sense at all, because again,
Yeah.
I can totally understand if you are trying to get pregnant, being a
Mm,
little more mindful, but you're probably not over 40 trying to get pregnant. Fertility is the thing that we want to preserve. And I guarantee those Olympic athletes who are overtraining and have lost their period, they're not fertile because their body's in panic mode.
right.
So fertility is the hormonal issue we need to worry about when you are. But even so, I had Dr. Cecily Ganhart on my podcast years ago, intermittent fasting stories. It was, back when like 2018, when it was brand new, I think.
Mhm.
And she's an OBGYN, who works with a lot of women in fertility issues. She found that intermittent fasting improved their fertility. She
I've heard
used
that. Yeah.
intermittent fasting to improve their fertility. So I just want to make that point. There's one book in particular that came out last year in 2023 that had women in the title of it. And,
Mm,
you know, it's like we have to reinvent the wheel. It's like,
yeah.
I'm going to write a book that no one's written before. What would be different that isn't out there? I know I'm going to make a really complicated fasting schedule for women that it's different.
Right.
And
I feel like it just confused a lot of women.
oh, it confused so many women. I was even interviewing somebody for intermittent fasting stories, and I think she was postmenopausal.
Mm.
And she was like, "Well, I've stopped fasting during those weeks because the book said to." I'm like, "Why?
Oh my
What are
gosh.
you trying to?" I mean, look, intermittent fasting is not going to prevent the change in our hormones that happens with perimenopause and menopause. That is a natural part of life. It happens to every single woman. If we live long enough, we go through the menopausal transition. Intermittent fasting won't prevent it. It also does not hasten it. It just, our bodies do it at the pace that they're going to do it. So if you're on the other side of that menopausal transition, you're not going to suddenly have ovaries that start back up like they were youthful ovaries. That doesn't happen. So, anyway, it's
That'd
just,
be real weird if it did.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense when you really dig in. But
Yeah.
we know that over restriction like over dieting
Yeah.
is really bad for women's hormones. Why is no one saying these new weight loss drugs are really bad for women's hormones because you're doing a starvation diet? You ever heard anybody suggest that? No.
Nope.
No one is saying, these new weight loss injections are going to be really bad for your hormones because you're eating starvation level calories and you're going to lose your period. And
Yeah.
so
No,
it
that's
just
really
shows a
important.
complete lack of understanding. Like people think fasting equals over restriction. People could combine fasting with an overly restrictive diet. Don't do that.
No, yeah, no, please don't do that.
Yeah,
Satiate yourself, please.
exactly.
Gosh, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Fasting and satiating.
Right.
So, the next question that I have for you is from one of our lovely, wonderful moderators, Joyce. She asks what your opinion on all the new products that are being promoted that claim they won't break your fast, like foods and drinks with flavor, specifically being endorsed by some doctors out there. I mean, we know food breaks your
Okay.
fast. Come
Let me
on.
tell you something. I am in part of a health and wellness community. Lovely people. I love them so very much. They're kind. They want to help people. But do you know where the money is? It's in selling you crap. Okay.
Products. Yes.
That's where the true money is. When I
Mm,
first joined this community, they're like, you need to make a fasting this, a fasting that, a fasting the other. You're going to make so much money. I'm like, I'm not doing any of that.
good
I
for
could
you.
make millions of dollars. I'm just going to say it.
Good.
I could
Say it.
make millions of dollars
Hmm.
selling you fasting supplements and aids and things like that.
Hmm.
Why am I not doing that? Not because I'm lazy. I would love to make millions of dollars selling you things. I don't need to sell you those things though, because you do not need them.
Right.
So when they tell you, oh my gosh, you need this, it doesn't break the fast. It probably does break the fast and you don't need it, but it's going to make them really, really rich. And
Right.
here's why we think we have to buy something to be successful. And that's like how we've been trained. You start a diet like we've done in the past and you got to go get a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Fasting is the only thing you're going to do where you need less stuff than you had before.
You really
You don't
do.
need all that. And like everybody doesn't need electrolytes. I hadn't taken electrolytes a single time because I needed electrolytes, not one single time. Now, are there people who do need electrolyte supplementation? Sure.
Mm,
They might be someone who's sweating a lot or they exercise a lot or whatever. Or maybe they're on a keto diet because keto tends to deplete your electrolytes more than if you're
mhm.
eating, more of an omnivore approach with all the foods. But there's not one single thing that every single person requires when you start an intermittent fasting lifestyle.
That is so true. I mean, when I started, I can't remember one thing I changed other than the time I was eating. That was
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah,
simple and it's totally free and you could just
exactly.
start whenever you want and you don't need all this crap that they're
If you
selling.
want to buy something, invest in better quality food. I don't know. Just buy
Absolutely. Oh
food.
my,
Buy delicious food. Spend your money on great cuts of meat and high quality cheese and whatever that you love. Don't buy the crap.
150%.
Yeah.
I cannot agree with that more. It's all about the quality. You learn that in your journey. Yeah, I don't I didn't think I changed one thing about what I ate at first, but over time, what I wanted to eat, which you go into in your book, is it has completely changed. It
It's true.
totally changed. And the quality is so important. So go spend your money on quality cuts of
Yeah.
meat, like Jen said, quality cuts of fish, whatever
Organic food.
organic
Yeah.
foods. Spend your money there instead of all these stupid supplements and crap that you actually really probably don't even need.
And I also want to tell you, y'all, people may not realize this. The business model of books now, but this is all just surprised me when I'm,
Mhm.
got to know the inner workings behind the scenes. The business model is what do you want to sell people into or get them to buy? Write a book that makes them do that.
Right.
That's the business model. So if you've read a book, like I think of one off the top of my head that's very, very successful. It came out years ago, but it's about plants being so bad for you in a
Mm,
paradoxical kind of way. That's all I'm going to say.
mm,
The author of this book makes a lot of outrageous claims about plants
mm.
and also has the cure for that problem that he will sell you.
Oh, how lovely.
So you just have to, when you read a book, you have to like kind of see between the lines.
Yeah.
What are they trying to sell me?
Mm. Yep.
And anyway, it's been really eye opening for me because I used to be that person who was like reading the book and buying the shakes that went with it or buying their supplements or woo.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that that was like a business model.
It's
Write
the
a book,
business model.
sell a product. But I mean, it
Mhm.
makes a lot of
Well,
sense.
that fasting book that I hinted at about women, she's
Yeah.
got a lot of products she's gonna sell
Yes,
you.
I've seen.
Well, and I you know,
And
I'm not criticizing anyone making a living
no,
selling things,
of course
honestly.
not. Of course not.
But if you create this need for something and then
Yeah.
sell the solution, I'm just very skeptical. You've heard in my story, I talked about how Dr. Oz always had those miracle things on, and then I would buy all of them. Did any of those things ever give me lasting success? No, they did not.
No,
I
none of
was
them did.
buying them every day though. So
Of course. It's big, big money. It's big money
yeah,
for
it
them.
really, really is big money. And I just really want people to always think about that. If they're trying to convince you that you really, really need something, are they also selling it to you? If the
Mm,
person telling you something is really good for you is also not selling it, then I would listen to them. But if the person
absolutely.
telling you you need it is also selling it, hmm,
Then you want to think about it. Like,
about it. That
take a
doesn't
deep
mean you
dive.
might not need it. Like I take magnesium for real. I really do
Sure.
take it. I
Yeah.
like, by optimizers, I like their magnesium. I don't
Mm,
mind endorsing their product, but I'm not going to create my own, right? They make a
right.
good one. It's
Right.
good
You're
enough
like,
for
they
me.
already do it good. Why would I make my
Yeah,
own? Like, this is great.
exactly.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I take certain supplements because I finally went to a functional medicine doctor after 4 years, and I was told exactly which supplements that
Right.
my body, my
Yes.
unique body, needs, what I'm in need of, what I have too much of, this and that. And I think that a lot of people, including myself for a while, were taking supplements blindly,
It's
just
true.
not knowing,
Yeah.
just like, I need, oh, somebody on Instagram says I need this. So
Yeah.
click, I'm going to buy it, and it
Right.
was a lot of that. So
Yeah.
supplements, just, tread lightly. And if it claims to
Mhm.
not break your fast, it's probably going to break your fast. So, um, last but not least, a wonderful member, Kate, out of our group, wants to know, is there anything that you would recommend differently now that you would, like, before you wouldn't recommend? Like anything specifically? Like, now knowing what you know now, reverse back to like 2018 that you were
Well,
maybe,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
I would maybe not use the wording 1 meal a day because people are so caught up in that wording, 1 meal a
Yes.
day.
Yeah,
Like, it's interesting to me because, I mean, we just really people like to make rules about things,
they do.
and they wanna have it black and white and rules and strictness and all of that, and so the whole idea of having a loose 1 meal a day lifestyle doesn't mean you're doing 23-1 or 1 plate a day, or you're, trying to have a really the shorter your window, the better, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And defining things as a snack or a meal, and it doesn't even matter. Your job is to open your window, eat until you're satisfied over the length of time that works without being over restrictive or overeating. And that's where the balance comes in. You have to figure out what is the eating window that allows you to eat enough food for your body so you're not over restricting, but
Mm,
not too much food so that you're
hmm.
overeating.
Right.
And that's where you have to play around with it. And it's not going to be the same day to day. So the terminology 1 meal a day has just really made a lot of people confused. Um, and honestly, the only reason that I used that terminology in 2015 when I started my first Facebook group is because I had been in Dr. Bart Hearing's Facebook group for Fast Five, and people were trying to fit 2 full meals into their 5-hour window, and then I realized Dr. Hearing in his book said you're only eating 1 meal
Mm,
within your 5 hours. So I'm like, "Oh, he didn't intend you're trying to eat as much as you can in 5 hours."
right.
So I was like,
Yeah.
"So we're gonna fit it in like a multi-course meal. We're gonna have 1 meal, but we're gonna spread it out like we're at a fine dining restaurant or a wedding reception." If you go to a wedding reception, you eat a lot of food over a lot of hours, but they're not feeding you 2 full meals, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why I started that Facebook group with that name, and then the name kinda stuck, and I do still consider myself to be 1 meal a day-ish because I don't usually open my window until around 2,
Hmm.
something like that, or a little later depending on what I'm doing, and I have, maybe you could call it my soup course with some bread.
Yeah.
Someone else might call that lunch, I don't know, it doesn't matter.
It's your opener.
And then later,
Yeah.
I have, dinner. I might have a little something sweet to close my window, and when I'm done, it's been about 5 hours.
There you
So
go. There you have it. There you go.
exactly.
One meal a day. I
Mhm.
mean, to be honest, I think it does confuse a lot of people, or
Yeah,
it has in some way for people who really want to be told exactly what to do. Like you said,
right.
we want a plan. Most
Yeah,
people want it written down, what to do. What is your fasting protocol? What worked for
exactly.
you? Well,
Yeah,
what works for me is not going to work for you. And
right,
so, yeah, so it's just I can't even agree with that more. It's absolutely, you have to do your own thing and do your own version of one meal a day, what that means for you. And
right.
it doesn't mean two full meals. It means spreading out one meal in the course of your eating window.
And it might even include 2 full meals depending on how you are eating. See, I'm a
Right.
volume eater.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I consider to be a full meal is like what, a grown man would consider to be a full. I like to eat. I'm not a restraint. I don't like to eat a little tiny bit of bird food, right? I
Right.
eat a
You go for
big
it.
meal. But if you're
Yeah.
somebody who's more of a light eater
Hmm.
than whatever you consider to be a meal, maybe you do need 2 of your meals in an eating
Absolutely.
window. And so that's the thing. It's just wording
Mm.
and that trips a lot of people up.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. I could see that for sure. Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions per se, but I do have a sort of congratulations from somebody
Oh.
in my group. She wants to congratulate you for going alcohol free.
Oh, well, thank you. I've never felt better. And it was quite a process, which everyone who's listened knows. And reading This Naked Mind really helped me, and I read it multiple times. Have you
Love
read
that.
that?
I love
It's
that
such a
book.
good book, and once it's mindset again, like we talked about with fasting, it's all mindset when it comes to alcohol as well, because I just think back to my childhood. My mother was a hippie,
Same.
and she liked to party, and I can remember being a tiny little girl, she would take me with her where she went. Very inappropriate, don't do that, but I
Yeah.
can remember being, like, at a party and everybody had daiquiris, and this was, like, the old '70s style
Mm,
daiquiri, and they were, like, not frozen. They're, like,
mm,
lime daiquiris and the little old-fashioned kinda daiquiri glasses, and I'm like, "When
yeah.
I grow up, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
parties too and drink."
Sure.
You see it, and so it's like,
Yeah.
This Naked Mind helped me realize that I had this idea in my head that fun times and being a grown up equaled drinking.
Hmm.
My first stepfather made his own wine. He brewed his own beer. I remember being around the wine store with
Mm,
them and it just was a given. You drink the wine. I love the glassware. I love glassware, fun glasses. So trying to realize I can have fun without drinking because I feel so much better when I don't drink.
right.
And I can drink kombucha out of a fun glass. I can drink it out of a martini glass if I want to.
Exactly.
Exactly.
100%. So, what have you experienced health wise since ditching alcohol?
Well, I sleep through the night every night,
Oh,
unless someone's
gosh.
making a lot of noise or
Yeah.
something wakes
Yeah.
me up,
That's
but
wonderful.
I just sleep. I sleep so well. Also, the hormone replacement therapy helped with that so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Getting my progesterone back. If you can't sleep and you're after menopause, it's the progesterone, I'm telling you. But after menopause, I really didn't handle the alcohol as well. And it was just
Yeah.
being honest with myself about it.
Yeah.
It felt like I was poisoning my body, even if I
Yeah.
just had a couple glasses of wine, even if they were dry farm wine, even if, what worked for me in 2018 did not work for me after
Right.
I went through menopause. And
Sure.
just, the last time I had a few glasses of wine, we were having it was a June day. We'd been walking in the marshes. We'd been to a nice dinner. We went and listened to a band. I
Hmm.
did not over drink.
Hmm.
I didn't drink a ton, but I hadn't been drinking for a few weeks before
Hmm.
that, and then
Hmm.
I woke up in the middle of the night with my heart pounding, feeling like my body was poisoned because that's how I feel when I drink, and
Mm.
I'm like, "Why am I doing this? This is so dumb."
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
I haven't had any since then, even though I went to a big fancy party a couple of weeks ago, and it was free,
Hmm.
wine, all the
Hmm.
wine and champagne you wanted, and I'm like, "I would just like club soda." They're like, "That's $7." I'm like, "So I can have free wine, but the club soda is $7?"
What?
Old me would have said, "Well, I'll drink the free champagne."
Sure. Yeah.
New me said, "I'll just have plain water,
Sure.
thanks."
Yeah. I'll take the free water.
I'm not paying $7 for club soda. No,
No, ma'am. Uh-uh.
no, but that's when I was like, "Hey, this really has stuck because it never crossed my mind, well, I could just get a glass of champagne. I
Yeah.
didn't even want it. So it's like that switch finally flipped.
I love that.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's a personal goal of mine to go completely alcohol free. I've reduced over the 4 years, but not completely rid myself of it for good. So such a huge inspiration because
Well, thank you.
now I am very inspired to stop it for good.
Well, I just
Hopefully
feel
I
so
can.
much better and I can be the designated driver. I never
Yeah.
have to think about how am I going to get home. It's
Yeah.
just so easy.
Yeah, and for me, sleep is so important because of
Hmm.
I'm in the dreaded perimenopause
Yeah.
stages. And so for anybody out there listening who might be in perimenopause or in postmenopause, listen, drink reducing or taking alcohol out of the equation can help you sleep at night. I know because when I
Yeah.
drink, I do not sleep well. It's
Mhm.
just a given.
Well, I noticed I have a sleep number bed that can measure your heart rate. You know, people
Hmm.
who have Aura
Oh, cool.
rings
Yeah.
and all those things as well.
Hmm.
When I would drink, my heart rate would be elevated
Yeah.
all throughout the night,
Oh, yeah. It
like a
raises your
racing.
blood
And
pressure. Hmm.
yeah, it was just not good. It was like it was poisoning my body. It's how it
Oh.
really felt. And so I don't clear alcohol well genetically. And so it just
Did
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I don't even feel the least bit like, I mean, I do wish there was a nice non-alcoholic champagne that actually tasted good.
Yeah, there's
There
not.
isn't, but anyway,
Hey, maybe that's something
club
you can
soda
work
is just
on.
fine unless it's $7.
Gin's clean champagne, non-alcoholic champagne.
That'd be nice. I would sell that, but
Yeah, see? There you
I
go. I so we kind of went on this, but you have like well over a decade of fasting experience now and have the ultimate expertise. So like explain how your what you're eating in your window has changed and evolved over those 10 years in a
so
nutshell.
much. It's, I used to eat the standard American diet, and now I have no desire to eat that way all the time. I'm clean-ish, as you know, from my book Clean-ish, and that really is how I saw it back there, that nice blue color. It really is how I live my life. I go to trivia every Thursday with a great bunch of women that are here locally. We did so badly last night.
Oh, it's still
But
fun.
but on Thursday nights, I have a hot dog with chili and slaw and onions and fries.
Oh my goodness, that sounds good.
Yeah. And then the next
That's
night, I'm like, man, I need some vegetables.
right. Yeah. So
So,
it's all about
pub food.
balance.
But, I don't want to eat pub food every single day because I don't feel my best. When I'm done, I feel a little, but it is what it is. So today I'm gonna have something it's like a farro and it's got spinach and it's got, I mean, just mushrooms, beautiful vegetables. So
Mm,
over time, I have realized, just like with the alcohol,
mm,
I feel better
sure.
when I nourish my body well. And I
Right.
also have better satiety
Yeah.
when I nourish my body well, because our bodies count nutrients, not
Mm,
calories. So
mm,
if you've ever eaten like a meal that had no vegetables in it, and then you find yourself hungry, even though your stomach is like full of food and you're unsatisfied, it's because your body didn't get the nutrients that it needed.
right.
But it happened naturally over time. I
Mhm.
have zero guilt when I have that, pub food at trivia. No
It's the
guilt at
best
all.
feeling, isn't it? To have
It really,
no
really is. But
feelings
I would
when,
not want to go there again tonight. Like, I have a
yeah.
friend, she comes to the trivia on Thursday sometimes, but she and her husband and some other couples, they go to trivia on Wednesdays as
Mhm.
well. There's no way I would want to go out to eat at a pub 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, no.
It would just be I wouldn't want to. So I can't
Yeah,
go to Wednesday night trivia because I just don't want to eat that way. I guess I could
right.
go and not eat, but it's right when I would want to be eating.
Sure,
So,
sure.
um
Yeah.
the way that I eat is different because in the past I would have been all over. I would have gone to a pub every single day, lunch and dinner. And
Yeah,
now I
no.
don't want to. So,
Yeah, and it does. It changed. It's hard to explain that to people who are just starting out. Like,
right.
trust me, what you want is going to change. Wait, you're telling me
Yes.
you really want to eat avocado toast
Oh my God, I love
or
avocado.
eggs or
Yes.
whatever it is all the time? And I'm like, yeah, that's really what I crave. I
That's really
crave like a
true.
hamburger. Like I crave the weirdest things, but just me, like making it in my kitchen, not going out to a restaurant because the
Mhm.
quality is totally different.
It's
What
true.
you
And
get.
I used to be just super happy with meat and potatoes and all of that. Like, I went to a really, like, last weekend, my son Will and I went to eat at a great restaurant I love here in the Myrtle Beach area, the Sea Captain's House. Their food is delicious, but I realized I didn't have any vegetables. I had she crab soup, which was amazing. I had crab cakes. I had a baked potato. I guess baked potatoes, technically from the vegetable kingdom, but I was like feeling really full
Yeah.
from that. But that
Yeah.
would have been like my ideal meal
Sure. Sure.
years ago. And instead I was
Yeah.
like, "Ugh, that was a little heavy. Now I feel full."
Yeah, it's just like it's so interesting how it's like an evolution of change in your diet of
Yeah.
what you're eating, especially, when you're an intermittent faster. That
Yep.
appetite correction kicks in and what you want changes over the years. And it's so, so, so cool. And
Yeah.
what you don't want changes. Like you don't want alcohol anymore.
I
And
don't want it, I really don't. Like, I do want the taste of champagne with no buzz, but I've not been able to find that.
yeah, no, I mean, listen, I have heard Katy Perry puts out a great like mocktail because she went alcohol free too. A lot
Okay.
of celebs are doing it now and it's becoming the cool thing to be alcohol free. So I love that trend. I do.
Yeah,
And
I do
I
too.
thank you for that inspiration.
Well, you're
So
welcome.
I'm gonna like wrap this up with the way I wrap up every single episode. And
Okay.
that is if there is somebody out there listening who might be overweight or unhealthy or both, and they're contemplating intermittent fasting, they've heard about it, but they're not sure. What would you, Jen Stevens, tell that person to give them that push to go forward and start?
This is the thing you've been looking for. This is the thing you've been looking for. And, we have trailed this we have, forged this path ahead of you, and we are telling you this will change your life if you allow it to. If you get the old diet brain out of your head, if you're ready to learn new things and unlearn some things that you thought you knew. And I'm going to tell you, 28-day fast start day by day. It's not just because I want to sell you a book, it's because I want to see you succeed at intermittent fasting. And I want you to have the foundation that you need to turn it into a lifestyle.
That is, I love that. Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Jen. Thanks for being here and taking time out of your busy day. I know you're such a busy woman. Enjoy your weekend. And thank you again for
Thank
coming
you.
on. I appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.